Hey, if you're a setup and tear down church, we feel your pain. Today about some of the pros and cons and just some helpful tips and tricks for you to do it better. We're here with Clay Hamer at Compass Church in Colleyville, Texas. Clay, what's your title here?
So I'm the production manager at our Mid-Cities campus.
Compass is a large church. And how many campuses do you have?
4 physical campuses, and we have an online campus as well.
And so we're here at Broadcast, and you probably have several thousand people coming to Broadcast every week.
Yep.
But your campus that you oversee is a mobile setup and tear down still.
Yep.
And so we often don't think that, a lot of churches, that larger churches are still launching campuses and then are going right back into the mobile setup and tear down. So do you feel like, myself, I planted a church when I was in my 20s and we were set up and tear down.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of the resources of a larger church body. Does it help to have some of those resources from the, the mothership where they can equip you with some tools that maybe a church plant doesn't quite have?
It does. Financially, it definitely does help. However, at least in my experience, the knowledge base. We have a great team of other production directors at our other 3 campuses, and our central team is very helpful. And that knowledge definitely trickles down. Learning every day from all the guys, girls around me is really helpful.
Yeah. So where does your campus meet?
So we meet at a high school auditorium located in North Richland Hills, Texas. It's definitely a big upgrade because we were in the community center about 6 months ago. Okay. So instead of having to set up speakers, lights, truss, all that, we're now just audio and video setting up that.
Because the PA and the lights are already in the theater?
Correct, yep.
And that's a good thing to think about when you're looking for a location for your church plant, for your next campus, to think, is there an auditorium at a school or another place where actually there already is a PA and already a lighting rig that you can tap into? That's a huge cost savings when you think about that. They may charge you a little more for rent, but just the cost of the equipment and the manpower to set that up every week. Mm-hmm. So before that, you guys were setting up everything?
So yes, we had to set up speakers, lights, screens, TVs, all that. 5 a.m. getting there.
Yeah.
So compared to now, since we have a little bit of that stuff already there, get it pushed an hour back.
So would you guys roll up with a trailer and just unload everything?
3
trailers.
3 trailers. So yeah, we had a team that woke up very early, drove to, I call it the yard, pick up the trailers, drive it to the community center, and set up.
Yep. Yeah, I remember when I was church planting in my 20s, our sound guy would show up to my house. The sound system was in my basement, and we'd load up a trailer at like 5 a.m. on Sundays and drive it out to the school and set everything up. That is a taxing thing. You definitely want a calling to church planting or set up and tear down, but it does wear your people down. So when you guys bring your trailers there and start unloading, do you have custom cases for everything?
Yes, so we have worked with Portable Church when we first started. Recently with the move, since we needed less stuff, both for production and around the church, we had to get things slimmed down. So we went from 3 to 1 trailer and a lot less cases.
Yeah. And Portable Church is a great resource for church plants and portable. I mean, they're called their name, portable churches. But we don't think about oftentimes the cost of custom cases is astronomical. Okay. Just all the manpower and materials that goes into building these custom cases that make it very easy. You just roll it out, open it up, and there's church. But there are plenty of other ways to do this where you could buy, your own cases. You could buy used cases. At Church Gear, oftentimes we just give away cases because we don't have any room to store them. And to retrofit those cases for your own uses, you can do some of that for a fraction of the cost. But just keep in mind, mobile church setup cases are incredibly high cost. And so what would you guys tell us some of the gear you'd actually set up for audio, video, and lighting?
Now we have X32 front of house. We have the same video rack, which has a Constellation HD switcher, 2 cameras, Panasonic EVA ones, and we do have a monitor console that is a M32, and just normal band drums, keys, electric and bass.
Okay. With the decision for the X32 and the M32, is that because it made most sense for that campus, or do you guys use those at other campuses so that volunteers can rotate throughout?
So that made the most sense for us. With the physical campuses, we go, we're definitely a more high-end digital console, but it definitely, the M32 and X32 work for us. Recently, though, we were actually renting one of our sound guys' M32s. So we wanted to move on from renting. So I had a discussion, and we talked about which one should we get. Should we spend more money on the M32 or the X32? And we determined no difference.
Yeah.
So we did go with the X32.
Okay. And what PA were you guys using?
It was Adamson. I don't remember the exact model, but it was Adamson PA.
And were you guys like rigging up line arrays on lifts, or were it speakers on sticks?
We had subs, so we had a sub pole, and then speakers on top.
You said you're running 2 cameras. What were the cameras doing? Were you doing iMag? Are you streaming?
Streaming.
Okay. And what were you doing? Were you setting up lights there?
Yes. So we had 4 sticks of bolt-on truss that we had crank stands for.
Yeah.
So we had to mount all our pars and things for the stage lights. And we also had some light trees with some Lecos.
Okay. And what would you say was the most time-consuming part for you guys in the setup of ABL?
I would say back then, for sure, lights. It was a lot of physical work getting all that set up. But now in our new space, believe it or not, it's the drums. A lot of hardware, making sure stuff's in the right place. Drums obviously have the most mics as well. So that takes, believe it or not, that takes a team.
Have you guys debated the pros and cons of using the acoustic set versus maybe getting an electric set?
We have not, but in my opinion, I think those are great. I've seen YouTube church production people talk about F-Note, those kits. I think that for us would be really beneficial.
And it's crucial to think of, what are all the different things that are taking time and energy and cost for your people, for your church as you're doing setup and tear down. Drum sets are, drummers have debated for as long as electric kits have existed, the pros and cons. But keep in mind, technology has advanced a long way where there are electric kits that feel and sound amazing. Now, if you have an acoustic set, especially where you're setting up and tearing down, you might be in an auditorium, you might be in a cafeteria, you're going to have to do a lot of sound control for the acoustic kit. You're going to need bare minimum probably a drum shield. You might be even thinking a drum cage. If you're miking up the drums, you're talking about a lot of setup and a lot of cost. But electric drums eliminates all those extra things. You don't need mics. You don't need sound absorption. So that might be a great way to reduce cost, reduce stress, reduce a lot of issues. Just one consideration.
Yeah, also with that too, be mindful of what you're using also helps with space. If you get, my goal is to try and consolidate things. So if we have a drum case with no shield, maybe we can put mic stands in that slot, or we are able to leave a video rack or something at the church or school. We can put more cable spools or whatever. Yeah. So time, but also all the stuff you're carrying.
And I know with our church plant, when we were meeting the school, they were gracious enough to give us a locker, a storage closet that was, fully protected with security doors. Do you guys have any storage on site?
We don't necessarily have storage. The school does allow us to store our trailers on site. However, we're when it comes to cases and some equipment, we do leave it on the stage in the auditorium. There has been a little back and forth between leaving things set up, what can be set up, what needs to get tore down. With that, learning how to communicate with the staff, communicating with the right people is very important. Knowing who's in charge of what at the school, it's important. You want to respect them, but at the same time, you want them to respect you. and that you're using their space, but you're also using theirs. So there's kind of a give and take with both.
Yeah, and don't just make assumptions that they'll say no. Like, ask, have some communication, make it a discussion. And oftentimes there is somebody on the leadership. I know at our church, we just recently launched a new campus, and the principal of the school is a Christian and goes to our church. And so we get more, gracious treatment than we could have ever imagined. Another thing that churches often end up doing is, especially when you're in a school theater, often schools don't have the best equipment. They didn't invest in a great sound system or lighting package. Churches often come in and they pitch, hey, we'd like to rent out your auditorium, but could we hang our PA? You guys use it as well. Have you guys ever had that conversation?
So yes, we have. And recently, the school, they originally had a Midas Pro 2, big old digital desk. But as of today, Compass has actually helped them upgrade their audio console. Going back to my church in California as well, it met at my high school gym, and the church there, they brought in LED wall, and they actually allowed the school to use it for their Wednesday chapels. So me being on the tech team in high school, then it was cool having a LED wall.
Yeah, and just think about, in what ways can you partner together with the entity of where you're meeting? If it's a school and you can offer some of your equipment to stay there for them, that might be a huge win-win. And, for you, Clay, as you're setting up and tearing down every week, if you thought like, well, I don't have to put up the sound system. Well, we don't have to put up stage lights. Just the reducing of the time and the energy, the amount of volunteers you need, how early you have to get up, like reduce that as much as possible.
Yeah, and having that time too allows me as the production director to fellowship with the volunteers, get to know them more, get to know what's going on in their life, and figure out if there's anything they need help with. End of the day, we are still at a church, so we gotta minister to people.
So we've given a lot of helpful tips today. If you are a set up and tear down church, there are so many creative ways that you might not be thinking of in order to reduce the cost, reduce the time, reduce the manpower. Things like switching maybe to an electronic drum set. You don't have to set up mics. You don't have to sound control it. It's a very quick setup and goes right into your mixer. Maybe you can partner with your school. Maybe you can have some of your equipment installed there. Maybe they'll give you some storage space there. Cases can be extremely expensive. Now, custom cases can be really beneficial and convenient, but also you could retrofit your own used cases at a fraction of the cost and get a very similar end result. So just constantly be thinking of how can we reduce the time, the setup time, and the cost and the wear and tear on your equipment by just, trying different avenues, trying some of these different ideas. Clay, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching that video. We know how difficult it is to keep Sundays running at your church, and we know a lot of it is about the gear. So we want to give you an exclusive 5% additional off anything, even if we're running a sale. Additional 5% off, grab the code in the video description below.